Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. We give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has spared our lives to this moment. We pray accept our ibadat. Ameen. We welcome us back to the free Nahw and Sorfu class, and this is Nahw class 88, and the topic of this class is Na'ibul Fa'il part 2, and our reference book is still Nahwul Waadih al-Juzu Thani. That is the second part, the part book 2 of Nahwul Waadih. So we have Naibul Fa'il, and we know that Naibul Fa'il, like it has been mentioned in the previous class, is the replacement for fa'il in passive verbs. So let us now check properly in the book what they tell us. Naibul Fa'il. Naibul Fa'il اسم مرفوع حل محل الفاعل بعد حذفه. Naibul Fa'il, the deputy of the performer of an action or the doer of an action, is ismun marfu'un, is a noun that takes raf'un. Halla mahalla al-fa'il ba'da hazfihi, that takes the state or the position of the fa'il, of the performer of an action, ba'da hazfihi, after it has been cleaned. That is, we have a sentence that has the verb, the performer, receiver, and all other particles. But we now, in that sentence, we now the performer of the verb and the what and the receiver. So the verb is going to change shape, like we've looked at in the last class, the various pattern of passive verbs in fi'l madi and fi'l mudari. So the verb will change from active to passive. Then what we have left as the receiver will now become the deputy of what? The deputy doer, the deputy performer of the action. So the first consider is saying that Nahwul Fa'il, that is the deputy performer of action, is a noun that is taken off from, which takes the state or the position of fa'il after it has been removed. So the second consider says either usnid al-fi'l ila na'ib al-fa'il, if a verb is attached to na'ib al-fa'il, deputy performer of, if a verb is attached to it, wakana madiyan, and the verb is in madi state, dumma awwaluhu wa kusira al-harfu alladhi qabla akhirih, the first letter of that verb will take dumma, the second to the last letter of the verb, the past tense verb, will take kasra. Just like we've done in the last class, the first letter of that verb takes what? Dumma. The second to the last letter takes kasra. If it is what? If it is madi, if it is past tense verb. Wa in kana mudorian, if the verb is mudorian, the present tense or future tense verb, dumma awwaluhu, the first letter takes dumma, wa futiha al-harfu alladhi qabla akhirih, and the second to the last letter takes kasra, takes fatha, unlike madi, which takes what? Kasra. So madi, the second to the last letter takes kasra. In mudari, second to the last letter takes what? Takes fatha. فيه هذا التغيير يسمى مبنيا للمجهول. Now that verb that has now changed, that verb that these changes that we've mentioned in the last coinder, that verb that takes that change is now called mabniyyu lil majhul, the passive verb. So the last coinder says إذا كان نائب الفاعل مؤنثا الفعل مؤنثا, if the deputy performer or the deputy doer of the action is mu'annas, that is, if it is a female noun, if it's a feminine noun, kana al-fi'lu mu'annasan, then the verb also becomes a feminine verb. So let's take a look at the examples and better appreciate what we have in the corridor. So first here we have Fataha al-waladul baba. Fataha is fi'l madi is our verb. Al-waladu is the noun, that is the fa'il. Al-baba is the maf'ulun bihi, the receiver. So we have the verb, the doer, and the receiver. The boy opened the door. The boy opened the door. So that is the first part. Then moving to the other parts of the page, we have futiha. So if you check these two sentences, we see that futiha is now the passive form of fataha, and what? Al-waladu is no more here. That is al-waladu, which is our what? Our fa'il in this first sentence, is not in the second sentence. So that was what brought about the change in the shape of the verb. So the active verb fataha became passive futiha, and the waladu is now removed. Then we are left with the receiver of the first sentence, which became the deputy doer here, which becomes Nahwul fa'il. Our fa'il was removed here. We are left with maf'ulun bihi. Then the maf'ulun bihi became what? The Nahwul fa'il in the second sentence. So Fataha al-waladul baba, the boy opened the door, became Futiha al-babu, the door was opened. So our fa'il has been removed, and the maf'ulun bihi has become our what? Our Nahwul fa'il. So it's just Nahwul fa'il is the verb, the noun that takes rafun and takes the position of what? Our fa'il when the fa'il is removed, and the active verb is changed to passive verb. Second example, we have akala al-fa'ru al-jubna. The rat ate the cheese. The rat, al-fa'ru, which is the doer, the performer of the action, the fa'il here. Al-jubnu is the maf'ulun bihi, which has taken nasbu, and akala is our fi'l madi. So the same thing happened here. We have ukila. So this fatha on the hamza is a mistake. It's meant to be dumma. It is ukila, from what we've learned on the formation of the patterns of passive verbs. So we know that the first letter hamza changes to dumma. Second to the last, which is kaf here, changes to kasro, and the fatha on the last letter remains the same. So akala became what? Ukila. Al-jubnu, which is the maf'ulun bihi before, becomes our na'ibul fa'il, not the fa'il. It becomes na'ibul fa'il. A passive verb cannot have fa'il, but na'ibul fa'il. So if you check al-jubna here, which was taken nasbu, becomes what? Raf'un here, because the verb has changed from active to passive. It has changed from ma'lum to majhul, and the fa'il has been removed. So ukila al-jubnu, the cheese was eaten. Kasarotil hirrotu al-ina. Kasarotil hirrotu al-ina'a. So here you can see this verb is a feminine verb. We have tautanis here. So showing that this verb is a feminine verb. Why? Because the fa'il, the performer of the action, is a feminine noun. Al-hirrotu, the cat. So kasarotil hirrotu al-ina'a. The cat broke the container or the jar. The cat broke the jar. Then here we have kusiro al-ina'u. Kusiro al-ina'u. Then the form of the pattern of the verb changes from active to passive. We have kusiro, and al-ina'u becomes our nahwul fa'il. But you can see that kusiro here is not a feminine verb now. It remains it became masculine. Why? Because al-ina'u is what determines the shape of our passive verb. Here, in the complete sentence that add the performer and the receiver, it is the fa'il, the doer, the performer, that determines the shape of the verb. So if the fa'il is feminine, the verb has to be feminine. That is what happened here. But now, we don't have a passive an active verb again. We have a passive verb. We have majhul now. We have kusiro. The fa'il has been removed. That is the feminine noun that was the fa'il in the first sentence. In this sentence has been removed. So we are left with the na'ibul fa'il, the deputy performer. So it is the Nahwul file that determines the gender of the passive verb, the Nahwul file. So because we have feminine in the first verb, does not mean we are still going to have feminine in the second verb. So in the first sentence, because we have feminine verb in the first sentence, does not mean we have feminine verb in the second sentence. Because the first sentence is with an active verb, and the what, the determinant of the gender of the verb is the performer, that is the fa'il. So here it is feminine, that is why our verb is feminine. But here we won't have fa'il again, because our verb has changed from active to passive, that is from ma'lum to majhul. So we have kusira. Al ina'u is a masculine noun. So our verb becomes what? Masculine. So we have kusirol inahu. The jar was broken. Then the next example we have Kotofatil bintu Zaharota. The the girl picked the flower. The girl picked the flower. So Putifatil Zaharotu. The flower was picked. Then the next part we have Tajma'un Namlatu al-Ghida'a. The ant collected the food or the nutrient or the nutrition. The ant collected the food. Then the verb, now this is Mudorian. First letter changes to Doma, the haraka on the first letter changes to Doma, then second to the last letter takes fatha. Unlike Madi that takes kasro. So we have from Tajma'u to Yujma'u. Note, the verb has changed from what? Feminine to masculine, because al-ghidha'u is a masculine noun. So the verb will not follow the same pattern or the same gender it had when it was active. What will determine that is the what? The deputy doer of the action, that is the naibul fa'il, is what is going to determine that. So we have yujma'u al-ghidha'u, the food was collected. Yarkabu aliyun al-hisanu, Ali rode the horse. Ali is riding the horse. This is present tense or future tense. So Ali is riding or will ride the horse. So Ali is now removed. That is, the performer of the action is removed. Then our verb becomes the passive state. We have and al-hisanu, which was the maf'ulun bihi before, becomes our naibul fa'il, and the nasbu becomes what? Raf'un. So yurkabul hisanu, the horse will be what? The horse is being reading, or the horse will be reading. So then we have tahlubul mar'atu al-baqara. The girl or the woman is milking or will milk. The verb changes again to passive. Now you can see that we have feminine verb, we also have feminine verb. Why? Because al-mar'atu here, which is the fa'il, is feminine, and al-baqaratu here, which is the naibul fa'il, is also feminine. That is why we have the same gender in this case. So tuhlabul baqaratu, the cow will be milked or being milked. Then tuhadhibul muallimatu al-binta, the teacher, the female teacher, is disciplining or will discipline the what? The girl. So then the verb changes to passive form. We have to hadhabul bintu. Then bintu becomes the naibul fa'il, that is the deputy performer. The girl is being disciplined. So that is how we form our naibul fa'il. Our naibul fa'il is that noun that remains after our fa'il from the sentence, and it is usually the previous maf'ulun bihi. So if you check all of our examples here, all of the naibul fa'il were maf'ulun bihi, that is, they were receiver of actions. But when the verb changed from active to passive, they became what? They became deputy performers of the action. That is, they became the naibul fa'il. So this is how we get our naibul fa'il. It is a noun that takes rafun and takes the position of fa'il. and the verb that comes with it takes domo. The first letter of the verb takes domo. If it is muddy, the second to last letter takes kasra. If it is mudori, the second to last letter takes fatha. So that is Nahwul Fa'il part 2. So inshallah, we shall be looking at the part 3 of Nahwul Fa'il in the next class, and then we will be learning some other things about it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi